Hello and welcome to the Post-16 options session in the St John's webinar series. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at some of the different routes that you can take after 16 as a UK student. We're also going to be looking a little bit more closely at some example course pages, some prospectus pages. So we're going to be looking at course requirements for entry and how you should sort of approach looking at a course page, either online or in a prospectus. And then we're going to be thinking about making A-level choices, subject choices, post-16 subject choices that work for you. And then finally, we're going to look at careers, and in particular, we're going to play a game, a guess the degree game. So I'll reveal more later about that. But essentially, we're going to be looking at the connections between university degrees, so subjects and courses that you study at university, and the careers and jobs and industries that they can lead to. So first of all, I wanted to share with you all today a really useful resource that you can access. So the gov.uk website, the National Career Service, Get the Jump Skills for Life. I've put the link at the top in the yellow box there. Essentially, it will give you a really useful and quite detailed overview of all of your options, including study only, work only, or a combination of work and study, post-16. So all of these different routes, and some of them are connected. Some of these paths you do first and then you do the other one. So not all of them are standalone routes, but you can see more when you look on that Get the Jump website. We're going to be focusing in this session on A-levels and higher education, but they're not the only options out there for you. Oh yes, I will put the link in the chat. I will do that at the end. You will also get a copy of these slides afterwards, so you'll be able to click on the hyperlink as well. So firstly, then, we're going to be looking at the types of qualifications and how they relate to entry to different university courses. So I'm going to be talking, as I have been for all of these sessions, mainly in the context of the University of Cambridge, but you will need to look at other universities' web pages for information about qualifications and what they accept. So yeah, that's just a small disclaimer that I'm going to be quite Cambridge focused here in what I'm giving you in terms of information in today's session. So T-levels, so these aren't accepted for most of our courses here at Cambridge, most of our standard undergraduate courses, but we do have the Cambridge Foundation Year in Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences, and they may be considered for that. So you need to look at the Foundation Year webpage, and I can link that as well for you to find out more about that, because that does depend on your qualification sort of set of qualifications. Now, a lot of other universities' T-levels are accepted for some of their courses, so definitely have a look if that's relevant to you. In terms of BTECs, these are mostly typically acceptable for the Cambridge Foundation Year, so do look at that webpage again, as I said before. In some cases, a combination with A-levels may be acceptable for some of our quite standard undergraduate courses, so those 30 undergraduate courses that we looked at in the Choosing a University Subject session. So BTECs at other universities may be acceptable for some of their courses, so just as I said about T-levels, it's something to look into depending on the universities that you're looking at. A-levels, the typical qualification that are accepted at Cambridge and other universities, looking at this from a UK context though. If you want more information about which qualifications are accepted for our different courses, this is a very useful webpage. And again, that link will be hyperlinked in the copy of the slides that you get after this session. It goes through A to Z, all of the different qualification types that are out there. And basically gives you advice on their acceptance in terms of the courses that we offer at Cambridge. So when you're looking at things like course pages, prospectus pages, online course information, you are going to be looking at, okay, first of all, the types of qualifications, making sure that they match up and you're an acceptable potential candidate, you're a prospective applicant with acceptable qualifications for that course. You also should be looking at the subjects in terms of the subjects that they recommend or require. Also the grades, so this will sometimes be called minimum entry requirements or typical minimum offers. And then this is more specific towards universities of Oxford and Cambridge, but it may be for other universities as well. There are some courses that will ask you to do some additional things as well. There are some additional requirements that you need to fulfill. So admissions assessments are an example, and submitted work is also another example. So we're going to be looking at 2 examples that I've just taken a screenshot of the webpage for each of these Cambridge courses. So we're looking first of all at our course Chemical Engineering and Biotechnology. So what I want to draw your attention to on this page are the sections on the left here. So first of all, you'd see something very similar to this on other university web pages, but just so you know what you're looking for when you're looking in a prospectus or looking online on a university's website. So typical offers, this section at the top is also going to be sort of your general entry requirements in terms of grades. Subject requirements here, this will be specific for Cambridge and potentially for Oxford as well. For the universities that are made up of colleges, there may be some variance there. So all colleges require, some colleges require, and these will basically tell you which subjects you have to take. So they're required subjects. Admissions assessment and submitted work. So these are the additional requirements that I was talking about before. So you can see that for chemical engineering and biotechnology, there is an admissions assessment for that. And so that you would then click through. You can see that I've taken a screenshot after I've clicked all of these hyperlinks because they're all purple. So you would then click through and find the relevant admissions assessment information for you. Submitted work, there will always be a section telling you whether it is applicable to you or not. So that's basically an overview of what you will see when you go on the entry requirements section of this course page. At the bottom, there is this grey box that is a relatively recent addition to the web page. So I wanted to draw your attention to it today. It essentially gives you an overview from recent years of entry. So we've got here 2017, 2018, 2019 entry, pre-pandemic years. It tells you the majority of entrants, their A-level subject background, so what subjects they took, and also their grades as well. So the proportion that got, so we've got here 88% of entrants, so successful applicants achieved at least 3 A stars. So it gives you a really useful picture of the competitive field, the gathered field of applicants. So basically everyone that applies each year. So in the purple box on the right, a little overview of what I've drawn out for you on this slide. So you'd be looking at the typical minimum offer, excuse me, the typical minimum offer, which is usually listed as either 3 A-level grades or IB equivalents, but then you can always see that the other qualifications are listed there. So you'd look on that page that I mentioned before, which lists all of the different acceptable qualifications. So if that's relevant to you, you can find your equivalent. And if it's ever not clear, you can always get in touch with us as well. Cambridge colleges can have different entry requirements, and Cambridge courses can have additional requirements like assessments or samples of submitted work that you have to do as well. So another example, but quite a different one, different subject, music. So it has quite different requirements, so that's why I've chosen it. You can see still at the top, you've got typical offers required, so you've got that minimum entry requirement in terms of grades. We've got, again, the A-level, the IB, and then a link for other qualifications. You can see that subject requirements, there's quite a detailed note there about what's required. And in this case, it's something that's the same across all colleges. And then for admissions assessment and for submitted work, you've got something that's quite specific to music. You will always find this, that on each course page, there are very specific instructions linking you to different pages and different, things that you need to know basically about the course. So it's well worth taking your time to look at all of the course pages for all of the university courses that you're thinking about applying for, just to make sure that you know what's required of you. So again, you've got that grey box. Excuse me, I've got some water here and I think I need it. You've got that grey box at the bottom that I've just pasted on the screen for you there, and that tells you the grades that these recent entry years achieved, the entrants, and also their subject background as well. Okay, so now I've got some Pixar will headhunt me soon, I'm sure. I've got some animation for you here. Subject choices to open doors. So what do I mean by subject choices that open doors? Well, I basically mean subjects that will enable you to pursue all of the different paths that you might want to. So they're opening the doors in the sense that they're opening up all those routes to you. So how would you go about choosing subjects that open doors? So we've moved on now in this session to the section looking at sort of choosing your subjects. So A-levels, I might use A-levels, I might use subjects. I mean essentially the same thing. So what do you enjoy is, I think, the first question to ask when you're thinking about what subjects you're going to choose. And what do you excel at? So what are you really good at? And I think those first two questions, and indeed the third question actually, what are you interested in learning more about? They should all really have very similar answers. I think ideally you'd enjoy what you're good at, right? And then the last two questions, what degrees appeal to you? So what university courses that you've seen are appealing to you? What are you interested in studying at university? Have you seen any particular courses that interest you? And then final question is, what job or career would you like to do? Now, this last question, I've got on the next slide all of the different answers, which are essentially yes, sort of, and no, not really. So I want you to answer this question in the chat if you're comfortable doing so. Do you already know what you want to do in 5 to 10 years? All of the answers that you're going to give me will fall into the yes, no, not really, and they're all equally valid. But the point of this slide is basically to show you your next steps. So whatever point you're coming from, whatever level you're at now in terms of how sure you are about what you want to do or be later in life, that there'll be some guidance for you. So we've got some no and not really answers first of all. Not at all and a yes, not yet. And someone's saying that they're split between different career paths, different routes. Okay, so we've got the full spectrum of answers there, which is really, really great. Thank you everyone for sharing. That's super useful. So if you were saying yes, then what you can do to figure out what you might study at university is the following. So if you're saying yes, I know what I want to do in 5 to 10 years time, then I would recommend working backwards from that. So what degrees could take you there? Whatever that career, job, industry area is, what degrees could get you there? Do those degrees require you to choose any specific subjects? So this is talking in terms of A-level or equivalent subjects, or any sort of combination of subjects. So you're working backwards from career, job, industry area, whatever it may be, to university degree, so the qualification that might open the door for that career, that job, that industry. And it probably is going to be degrees plural. I don't want to try and give the impression that it's going to be a one-stop linear track here. And then, do those degrees require any specific subjects? So do they ask that you take any particular A-levels or equivalent? So if you're sort of, and I think this was some not reallys in the chat, so this is sort of applying it to you guys. Which doors or possible futures do you want to keep open? So what sorts of jobs and careers interest you? Now, you could be quite vague, or you could be quite specific with many different types of industry areas, many different types of careers, or it might just be the sort of job that you would want to do. You know, what would you want to do in your day-to-day working life? So you can take that question from many different angles, really. And then same advice again, I would say, working backwards from any sort of areas that require a specific degree, if they do, and then from those university courses, figure out if there are any subjects, any A-level or equivalent subjects that you would need to take in order to keep the door open to those degree or degrees. And then not really, so no. Focus on what you enjoy and what you're good at. So I think those first 2 or 3 questions about what you want to continue learning and exploring, what areas really interest you because you really enjoy them and you're really good at them, focus on that, and then take a range of facilitating subjects that both interest you, but also allow you to excel, and that will keep your options open. We'll go on to some of those different subject combinations for different types of courses in just a moment. But finally, on this slide, I've popped a little box there because subject interests that don't form part of what you eventually choose to study as your A-level subjects, you can still keep up those subject interests through supercurriculars. Can I get someone in the chat to define for me what I mean by supercurriculars? Anyone want to have a go at defining supercurriculars? Oh, excellent. Sorry, we've got a flurry of answers there. Let me read them all. And VT, thank you. Additional reading to develop your knowledge of a certain subject. Absolutely. Investigating a subject you're interested in your own time. Thank you, Samantha. Yes. An activity that's beneficial and supplements your goals and education. It's extra to the curriculum. Yes. Absolutely. So reading beyond your subject. So super, that prefix there means beyond. So things outside of school, exactly, Lucy. Yeah, that develop your knowledge of subject area. Brilliant. Correct answers there across the board. That's excellent. So subject choices, keeping your options open. I've split it between science courses and arts and humanities courses. So we're going to take science courses first. What we would advise, and I'm speaking with sort of a Cambridge hat on here, but I think this is very broadly applicable advice, but do, of course, look at university prospectus pages for different universities that you're going to be applying to and get in touch with them if you want some advice as well beyond what they have on their course pages. So we would recommend that applicants for our science courses take 2 to 3 of biology, chemistry, maths, further maths, physics. So those are the sorts of A-level and equivalent subject areas that we would advise you to choose. Typical combinations of these are maths with physics, that's really common, chemistry and physics, and biology and chemistry. So you could sort of chop and change with those combinations there and combine to make 3 subjects making up that combination. And then in particular for certain courses that require certain subjects or are sort of more specific, when I say science is quite general, so I've gone for more specific breakdowns as well. So for courses that require you to have maths as one of your subjects, a good combination of subjects is maths, further maths and physics. For courses that are biological, medical sciences, and also chemical engineering courses, chemistry is a really probably quite obvious subject to take, but it's worth mentioning. For engineering and physical sciences courses, we'd recommend physics and maths, and if possible, further maths. So there'll be more information on the website about this, but essentially, some schools don't offer further maths, but there are other ways that you can sort of self-study and learn further maths content on your own. So I can link some useful pages for you that are relevant to that if that's applicable for you. And just got a note at the bottom there, most successful applicants for Cambridge Science courses have 3 to 4 science or maths A-levels. If you want more guidance about this, about subject choices, then we have a really useful PDF that again linked on the slide, so you'll be able to have it when I share these slides with you. But you can also find it just by Googling Cambridge, the subject matters, and it will bring up a really useful PDF for you that goes through all of this advice in more detail. So for arts and humanities courses then, we advise that you would take 1 or more of English literature, history, languages, and maths, and you can combine those subjects with other subjects such as another language, a science, and then subjects like politics, geography, economics. But this is not an exhaustive list, so it's just some examples that I've picked out for you there. And similarly, I would head to the Subject Matters PDF. So that resource from Cambridge is really helpful for this. That's what it looks like. I really like the cover, so I've featured it in my slides. Okay, so now we're going to move on to degrees and careers. So looking at the connections between university courses and careers. So some careers require you to have done a specific degree. These include architecture and engineering. Also medicine is quite an obvious one. And some jobs also would ask for you to have a qualification in a subject area. So maybe not a particular degree, but a subject area broadly defined that kind of makes sense. So the example I always like to use is if you want to be sort of a translator or an interpreter, you'd have to have some background in languages, and you'd have to have qualifications in that for obvious reasons. So the little wavy box that I've got there is basically saying that you don't have to take a certain subject at undergraduate level in order to go on to do a particular vocationally linked career. So what I mean by that is, even though there are some careers that do require you to have a specific degree in order to access those careers, in order to do those jobs, you can often get this through a graduate course or graduate training. So on the next slide, I've got some examples of areas, of career areas of different jobs, and these are known as open access careers. So the majority of top jobs don't actually specify a degree subject. They just look for you to have done well at university, so achieved a good degree in any subject. So some examples of this are finance, public administration, IT jobs as well, journalism, publishing, law, and teaching. So these are just some examples of what we sometimes call open access careers. So career support at Cambridge, I'm going to be going through all of the different ways that you would be supported as a student at Cambridge by the Career Service. Other universities have career services. So this is just a specific example that I've taken for the Cambridge Career Service, but it would be very similar across different universities. So what the Career Service will do for you as a university student at Cambridge is you can get these one-to-one careers appointments, which are really helpful at whatever stage you're at. So a bit like when we did the question before about yes, not really, sort of, those sorts of stages that you can be at in sort of knowing what you want to do and knowing where you want to go and ultimately what your goals are. In terms of careers, the Career Service can help you again in the same way. So there's always going to be advice and guidance that they can give you regardless of the stage you're at in what you've figured out for yourself yet. So those appointments are a great example of that. There will also be lots of different opportunities that they list on their website. So jobs, volunteering opportunities and internships. But as well as the Career Service, you can also access these through faculties, through societies that you're part of as a student, and also through your college. And then there are lots of opportunities that are available to you just by nature of being in Cambridge, I think. So I've got two examples there, our Innovation Centre and our Science Park. We've got lots of companies, lots of really exciting startups, particularly in software engineering and that sort of CompSci area, where you will have access to those just by virtue of being in Cambridge as well. So there are lots of ways that you can access different opportunities and see what's available to you as a student in Cambridge. The third thing I've got that is an example of career support is alumni mentoring and networking events as well. So the Career Service at Cambridge have this really nice mentoring link scheme that they run, whereby students that have gone to Cambridge and then have gone on into various different career paths can be linked up with current students at Cambridge, and the mentors can then give you advice when you're a student at Cambridge about what you can be looking at in terms of what might be good internship opportunities, good things to consider, skills that you might want to develop, because they'll be from the sort of career area or the job, maybe the particular kind of job that you are thinking about going into. So you've got that really nice mentoring support there as well, and lots of networking events too. Workshops and presentations are a fantastic way to get support as well in terms of careers advice and guidance. So they've got ones that are generally about sort of making job applications, but they've also got lots of sector specific advice. That's hard to say, easy to type, hard to say. And then as well, the Career Service have lots of online resources. So a lot of these will be accessible to you as a student. So you'd need a student login. So PDF guides and videos giving information and advice. But you can go and look on the website now. So there's lots that are, lots of sections, on the website that are available to you to have a browse now. So definitely head to the Career Service website in your own time and just have a look around. you can see some examples of the information that you would have access to as a student. And an important thing to note about the career service, and this is the same for other universities as well, that you are supported during and after your time at university. So you can still go to this career service long after you've graduated and ask them for support as well and access all of the resources that they have. Okay, this is quite a funky looking slide. I've got some different examples of areas of where you can go into in terms of careers after university. So the first one is academic careers as its own area. So what I mean by academic careers, so you would be progressing into further study. So you'd be staying on, having done an undergraduate degree, you'd be staying on to do postgraduate degrees, so masters and subsequent degrees like PhDs. And you'd be doing this with a view to conducting your own research and teaching undergraduates. So becoming an academic, so becoming the person that teaches the students at university. Non-academic research is a different area as well. So this could be, you could be working on conservation work, you could be working in pharmaceutical companies, engineering companies. So you'd be doing research that's not specifically academic focused. You're not specifically sort of involved in the teaching and learning of students in your subject area, but it is still classed as a research career nonetheless. And then another section that I've got on this slide, another area in terms of career destinations, are jobs where you'd be using your subject background. So either teaching, that's a really good example of this, or you'd be supporting research communication, like science communication. This was particularly useful during the pandemic to make sure that people had access to really clear and accessible information about vaccines, for instance. Or you might be going into international relations, environmental consulting. There's lots of different areas where you'd be using your subject background. So you'd see an obvious sort of subject link there with environmental consulting. It might be earth sciences, geography, interpreters, translators, it would be languages, but you would be sort of applying your knowledge in this different way. And then finally, I've got something completely different. And by that, I mean, you'd be using transferable skills. So not necessarily something that is subject specific, but more what we call employability skills or soft skills. These transferable skills can be applied regardless of which degree you did to a whole host of different careers. So you'd be using these transferable skills in areas like banking, software, data science, accounting, and also third sector and charity work as well. So on this slide, I've got this is the start of our game. So get excited, folks, because this is the really fun part. There's a survey. There's a higher education survey that analyses and collects all the data on what graduates do. So what do graduates do? This is the survey that I've taken the screenshots from for our game today. So essentially, it looks at different degree and subject areas, different university courses, and what those graduates went on to do after they'd finished studying that. So what I've got here, and oh, sorry, you can take a look at the full report here. The hyperlink is at the bottom, so you'll have access to that when I share the slides with you. So first of all, I've got an anonymized screen grab from one of the subject areas, one degree, one university course, and these are the top 10 professional jobs that graduates of this unknown course went on to do. So I want you to take a moment to have a look at these top 10 jobs that they went on to do, and pop in the chat for me some of your guesses on what the degree might be that led to these jobs. Oh, we've got some answers already. Let me just open the chat. So Samantha and Helene say maths. Anyone else got any other guesses? Arthur says maths as well. And VT says maths. Yeah, computer science. It's also a related guess. Maths, Komsky seem to be the popular guesses. Well, very good. It is mathematics. Excellent. Can you pop in the chat why you guessed that? Why did you think that that was the subject area? And we have two more examples after this. So what was it from the jobs? Was it a particular job or a particular sort of career, industry area that you spotted that you thought, oh yeah, this might be something mathematical? The overall vibe, yep, That's very fair. Yeah, a lots of jobs that were sort of linked to maths. Yeah, applied knowledge, transferable skills, exactly. Yeah, brilliant. So you just, what I hope to get across with these sorts of slides is that sometimes there are links that kind of make sense, and it's just that vibe, and it just makes sort of logical, intuitive sense. But when we'll see all of them, when we've done all three, what I hope that you'll find as well is that there are a lot of overlap areas. So a lot of areas, a lot of jobs and career and industry areas where they are accessible, those careers, those jobs are accessible, regardless of which degree you did. So that's ultimately the aim of this little game of Guess the Degree. Okay, next one then, got a different set of top 10 jobs. What do we make for this one? I think this one's a little bit trickier than the first one, but have a go nonetheless. Oh, we've got some guesses coming in. Economics, English literature, management, geography. This is interesting. So we've got a completely different set of guesses from last time, and also in the sense that we've got lots of different guesses as well. Can someone give me a reason why they chose to guess their particular degree, whichever subject area it was? As I find for this one, it's harder to get that sort of intuitive vibe of what the subject area is. So Zainab says the relation to business and finance. So the fact that business and finance is popping up a lot might make you think that the degree was related to that. Yeah, absolutely. That's a very fair guess. So language skills might make you think that it's related to English. Yes, Sarah, and that's a good guess as well. Yeah, so critical thinking and good sort of writing and like written communication skills, absolutely. So what I will do now is reveal to you, sorry, I've lost track of where my mouse is, there we go. What I will reveal to you is what, oh, and the chat's in the way as well, hang on, is what the job is, what the degree is, sorry, that led to these top 10 jobs. So it's philosophy, which I thought was quite interesting. That wouldn't have been my first guess. Yeah, so humanities, like I'd probably say that you'd get similar top 10 jobs for a lot of humanities courses. Yeah, no, it's interesting. So can anyone think of some potential reasons why philosophy graduates might have gone into some of these roles? So what have we got? We've got teaching, we've got PR, we've got marketing, HR, management consulting, we've got finance, and we've got accounting as well. So I think we've got a whole host of quite varied careers here. Does anyone want to pick out anything that they think seems like a clear link in terms of what skills you would gain studying philosophy at university that you could then use in different career paths? Yeah, critical thinking, analytical thinking, absolutely, yes. So a really applicable skill set that you would get from this degree. Understanding different points of view, definitely. That's a really good one. Thanks, Zainab. Yeah, flexible thinkers, exactly, Samantha. You can see another point of view. You can appreciate and understand multiple perspectives. Yeah, and in particular, marketing, understanding what interests different people and what will pull different people. Exactly, it's almost sort of a direct link there, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant responses, everyone. Thank you very much. So next one now, the final one. What do we make of this one? So we've got, what have we got here? We've got a lot of similar, I'm hoping what you're seeing is that we've got a lot of similar areas. And I must stress that these are only the top 10 as defined by this survey jobs. So this is not, again, this is not an exhaustive list by any means at all. I'm not sure where I would fit into these professional job areas anyway. So there are definitely more jobs out there than represented on these slides. Okay, sorry, we've got guesses coming in for this final. Which degree is it? We've got economics, land economy, which is a specific Cambridge course, geography, got archaeology and anthropology. Very interesting guesses. Any more guesses? An economics type course, a business type course? Yeah. Yeah, because I can see that the main themes there, you can sort of look and see which are the sort of common denominators, if you will. Excellent. Okay, well, I can reveal, and I've put in an extra slide, by the way, so I don't accidentally reveal. So I have to click again. Geography. Geography is the answer here. So we did have someone guess geography, which is great. Do you want to say why you guessed geography, Helene? What sort of skills and what sort of knowledge do you think a geography graduate would get that would enable them to go into potentially all of these different industry areas? Yes. So you've got human and physical geography. So geography by its very nature is sort of is multidisciplinary. It's got multiple different subjects within it. Yes, you have to use some applied maths. I remember doing my stats module when I did A-level geography. Yeah, use of resources as well. So yeah, sort of an economics perspective as well. So excellent, brilliant answer. Thank you very much. So what I hope that we've seen, if I just sort of flick through back again through all of these different degrees that led to these different top 10 jobs. We've got a lot of broad areas that are shared across all of them. And all of these degrees, I'd say, are quite different. I tried to pick degrees that, you know, we would think maths, that's like purely STEM. Philosophy, we'd think that's purely arts and humanities. And then geography is sort of in between. It's sort of a humanities and it's a STEM at the same time. So I've deliberately picked those three to show you that all of these different degrees that you can do at university will lead you to not only a wide variety of different jobs, and these are, as I say, only the top 10 on each of these slides here, but also a lot of similarities exist in terms of the career paths between them. So now we're going to look specifically at Cambridge students and where they end up after they finish studying here. So this, another link that I've got for you, is the Career Service website, and particularly the page that's called Using Your Degree. So you'll see here, I've just taken a screenshot of the web page, that you've got all of our courses listed A to Z, so starting with Anglo-Saxon, Norse and Celtic. And you basically just click on one of them and then it will take you to a web page that looks something like this. So I've got engineering as the example here. And so what you'll find is typically about 3 sections. And in the first section, it'll give you a useful overview, some information on recent graduate outcomes. So that's Cambridge students in particular. And they might also often give you like percentages, like proportions of where they went in terms of the job sectors and the career industries. And then in the second section, which is often titled, Will Employers Want My Degree? So will employers want this degree, whatever this one is? And here we've got engineering. What this section gives you is an overview of different transferable skills from that degree or subject or course, whatever it may be. So we were talking a little bit earlier about the analytical, critical thinking, appreciating multiple perspectives from philosophy, just as one example, because I had that as one of my slides. So this is where you'd find those sorts of transferable skills explained a little bit more for each course. So I think that's a really useful section. And then finally, really helpful as well, are some further suggestions and resources, like sort of next steps of where you can go to explore different career opportunities. So you can have a look at this webpage. I didn't have to put a login to access this at all. It's really useful, I think. And also if you're a bit nosy like me, it's quite interesting to see where people end up. So finally, this is a really common question that I get. Should I take 3 or 4 A-levels? So my answer would be most universities require you to do 3 A-levels. So we saw before those typical minimum offers, those typical minimum entry requirements, and they were always sort of 3 A-levels. So typically you wouldn't need to take more than 3 A-levels. And there are some arguments for why you would take 3 and only 3. It would give you typically a more manageable workload. So it would allow you, in theory, to focus more on each one of your subjects, each of the three. And it would also give you more time for you to pursue additional activities like subject enrichment, so supercurricular activities, work experience, volunteering, which can all help to support competitive university applications. But on the flip side, taking 4 A-levels often enables you to keep more options open. So to keep more of those doors, those metaphorical doors that I was animating earlier, taking 4 will allow you to keep more of them open. It gives you a broader and increased subject knowledge, which is useful and sometimes required specifically for maths and medical sciences courses in particular. I've got a note at the bottom. Applicants taking 4 A-levels won't normally be at an advantage compared with those taking 3, but competitive applicants for STEM courses often take further maths. That's often their 4th A-level, quote, 4th A-level. So the final thing on this slide, just like the route that you take after age 16, your A-level choices and how many subjects you decide to take, it is ultimately your decision. So the most important thing that you do is that you make sure that you choose what works best for you. Make sure it's an informed decision and one that you are making yourself. Okay, so this is an overview of what we've covered today. So we're just going to wrap up the session and then I'll pause for questions. So we've looked at the different routes that you can take after 16. We've looked at the sort of prospectus pages and the entry requirements pages for some examples of university courses. We've thought a bit about subject choices in terms of your post-16 subjects like A-levels and equivalent. And then also we've looked at the end there with the guess the degree game, the connections between degrees and careers, and some examples of what graduates end up doing. So I'm just going to put on this slide, the final slide, which has my email, just in case anyone is watching this recorded. You can contact me, I can share a copy of the slides from today's session, and you can also send me any further questions. Thanks, everyone.